Well, hello there. Get the microphone on before you start talking, right? I'll edit that out of this video. How are you doing? Hey, it's really hot outside. By the way, I canned these, along with a bunch of others, about a year and a half ago. A little over a year and a half ago. They look exactly the same as the day I canned them. There's a special, clear Russian liquid that these are sitting in. I can't think of the name of it. It starts with a V. Just, you could barter for the contents of the liquid, and then these are mandarin oranges, and consume the mandarins separately. Both the contents and the preservative liquid that they're in are separate and autonomous bartering materials, along with the container that they're actually in. When I was growing up, my grandmother did a lot of canning of course, she grew up on a farm, and she had a lot of canned beans and canned fruit and just everything. The idea of wasting food, waste not, want not, is very true. We kind of got away from that now. It's like you'll buy, I don't know, 10 bananas and then, eat a few of them and then the rest go bad and we throw them away. That's really bad. We're way more wasteful than our grandparents were. And they had to do it by necessity, but even though we don't have to do it currently by necessity, it's a really good idea. By the way, these are, I bought 2 more of these. These are M592 cans. I just spray painted a couple more. They're 20 millimeter cans. Everywhere on eBay and even Amazon sells them for basically $50 a piece. My buddy owns a surplus store, and I got them for a hair less than half of that. They're very, very nice. They're airtight and watertight. Really great. I don't know if you know this or not, and this isn't my conclusion. This conclusion, some of the best experts out there, and a lot of the experts don't know anything. Of course, I've been saying that for most of my life, especially when it comes to science. These people that reified space and time and support relativity, and I have a doctorate degree. They're quote-unquote experts, but they don't really know anything. I'm talking about people that actually do know and put their money where their mouth is at. That currently, even though it doesn't seem like it, because things are not extremely kinetic in Western Europe or Australia or the United States, but they are. We are in WW3 right now. It's kind of like in a cartoon-rated version of it at this stage. Obviously not in Ukraine, but we are. I mentioned this countless times. I don't think people realize this, and I have no interest in any, spreading fear out like somebody smears peanut butter across a piece of bread. I'm just not. But society is the thinnest crust over top of the largest, most powerful volcano. One thing, well, several things. I mean, I made a slew of enormous discoveries long before anybody else in this Earth has, including what magnetism is, how it works, why it works. But I am quite proud of the fact that this isn't hyperbole. I'm way more prepared, and I do not consider myself to be a prepper. I've seen actually some prepper shows, and they showcase these people that are slightly not all there. And it's like, they're like, oh, this is a prepper. Like, no, that's a person that's a little bit off. I'm going to use the word off. But better prepared than 99.9%, easily so, of the rest of everybody that's out there. What good does that do? I'm not interested in, making it to 100 years old, but I do righteously and rightly and accurately and logically and intelligently do believe in being prepared. But we are in WW3 right now, even if you don't realize it. Starmer, the head of the UK, recently made a bold statement. He said right now they're preparing the whole country to be on a W and an A and an R footing. It's kind of like a Winston Churchill sort of statement, and You know, a lot of the rest of us are laughing, and I actually have no respect for that guy at all. None. But this is what they're doing. You or me or anybody else out there could point the finger at this entity or NATO. We could point the finger at all sorts of things. And I don't care about that, and I certainly don't care about politics, but I do care about seeing what's over the horizon, standing on someone else's shoulders and seeing what's coming. Right now, Russia and Rootin' Tootin', as I humorously call them, are preparing to go full out ape. Full ape over what has happened just a few days ago. I don't know if you know what happened 48 plus hours ago. If you don't know, then you've had your head in the sand. You could find video of it everywhere. By the way, the Kremlin has ruled that NATO and or England and Germany is at fault for what happened then. Just a few hours ago, I say this humorously, okay? Cheeto Jesus reported that his hour and 15-minute phone conversation with old Rootin' Tootin'. Russia, Putin conveyed to the T-man that Russia will, quote, have to respond to what happened a few days ago. And this isn't the reason for being prepared. You know, this in and of itself is not. There are a lot of people stirring the pot, and they want this to happen. I'm not going to name the names of that. I don't know if it really matters, as long as you have proper situational awareness of what is coming. NATO and the US and Deutschland and the UK and other entities are successfully pulling a slow-motion proxy drain of the Russian economy. I'm sorry if you think you know more than about Russia than I do. But unless you live there, you don't. I spent a lot of time in Russia. People talk to me and live stream all the time, and I listen to everybody, and I do read every comment. Yeah, Russia has trillions of dollars of resources. And this is accurate, they do. Our government set up a fake company at one point in time to buy titanium from the Soviet Union so that we could use it in our military tech, because, you know, Russia's got enormous amounts of titanium. The same could be said, and I'm not going after South Africa at all, the same could be said for the country of South Africa. It has got tons of gold and uranium and platinum and diamonds. It's just got many trillions of dollars of resources, but the country itself is extremely poor, by and large. Not if we focus in on one city. You know, we could focus in on Moscow and make a wrong conclusion about the infrastructure of a country. Kind of like a person might have, you know, 4 or 5 types of things going on with them, but, you know, they could, you know, pep themselves up and look super gorgeous and superficially okay, even though right underneath the surface everything is going wrong. So the fact that Russia has trillions of dollars of resources is irrelevant. We performed this in, I even made a movie about it. It's called Charlie Wilson's WAR, and how we performed a proxy conflict, and we dismantled the Soviet Union by just economically breaking them. The entire country, and I got nothing against Russia, and I get along great with Russian people. Настоящий крепкий русский народы, ты слышишь? I was Russian, by the way. If you're Russian and listening, nothing against them at all, but economically they're not powerful, and this is what's going on. You know, the unintelligent people are talking about, you know, who's winning? You know, is this side or is it that side? It's not important. If you lose, but you financially absolutely devastated the other party, then you have won. We did the same thing in Afghanistan. Well, we lost over there. Did we? The Soviet Union broke up. That was the whole mission. And there was a plan going on, and the movie's all about that. The movie's not totally accurate, but it's mostly accurate, and it's a true story. And we did do that. And the exact same thing is going on. This is not about winning or losing. I mean, this idea that you're going to stand on someone else's land and plant a flag and, you know, beat your chest like a gorilla, that idea of winning is extremely antiquated. You don't have to win. All you have to do is just bankrupt somebody. If you want to bring somebody right to the brink, you know, you don't have to take their house or plant your flag inside of their house or on their front yard. All you have to do is make it where, like, yeah, they can't afford the property taxes anymore, they can't afford the utilities. It's just, it's all gone helter-skelter. It's all gone sideways, kaput. You know, the brakes on the bus of, and that's what's going on. I can't, you know, I laugh at the idea that people talk about who's winning. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The people in Langley and these extremely well electromagnetically shielded buildings somewhere in Virginia, they don't think that way. There's a different version of winning, and you don't know what it is. But it's blatantly obvious, and it's hyper-rational and logical. And it's planned out by supercomputers, and then you have a bunch of intelligent analysts that look over vectors of possibilities. They say, yeah, this concludes that. All we have to do is this, this, and this, and that, and that will happen. Chain of causation. And that's exactly what's going on now. By the way, my tenant, I've heard this story over and over again, and I've even heard it from postal workers. The post office, by the way, has gone rogue. I had proof that, like, my rent check had been mailed to me by one of my tenants. A very, very responsible guy. He's upset that it never arrived. My friend who owns a surplus store, by the way, which is where I picked these up, he had one of his credit cards canceled because he's sending him payments. He's quite wealthy every month, but 3 months later they hadn't even got the first check. My parents thought that their bills were being, you know, swiped out of the mailbox, you know, by somebody, you know, where they actually take the checks out and they redo them. And that's not the case. You're just sitting in a shipping container languishing in an unknown parking lot. I'd like to hear back from you, but I've heard from a gazillion different sources that the United States Post Office has gone not entirely rogue, but to the point where you wouldn't even think if it was important. If it's even slightly important, you wouldn't even think of sending it through the post office. I'd like to hear from you on that, by the way. By the way, this happened again today, and this has happened many times recently. New Jersey's Newark Airport's been grounded today due to staffing issues. Before that, it was ATC. They're trying to get everybody. By the way, I sent for my new driver's license, and it's late. That gets sent to you in the mail. Who knows where it disappeared to. I had to wait a month and a half to get an appointment for a new driver's license. I said, oh, we'll send it to you in the mail. Hey, that's great. The only problem with that is it's long overdue. Who knows where it's lost in the mail. They're trying to keep us from traveling, and they're doing all these neat things that, and I was trying to take a vacation a few months ago, and they just, for no reason at all, just decided to cancel the flight. It was American Airlines. Still never got my money back from that, by the way. It was $400. Never got the money back from the flight. They're trying to keep people from traveling. They don't want people to travel. This 15-minute city stuff is real. It's not like imagined or tinfoil hat stuff. By the way, in live stream a couple days ago, I whipped out a roll of aluminum foil and I made myself a tinfoil hat. Everybody was laughing. I love to make people laugh. You know, life is hard enough. It's good to make people laugh. Steel aluminum tariffs actually took effect yesterday. Campbell's Soup, who their cans are made out of steel, have warned that prices are going to, anything and everything that uses steel or aluminum, including a lot of food stuff, is going to go up. Old Rootin' Tootin' too said less than 48 hours ago that they, Ukraina, I'm going to say it in Ukrainian, Ukraina has, quote, prepared their own end. Right now, there's a mountain of evidence that things are moving, the chess pieces on the chessboard, what they're going to do. I would not even feign to speculate. I got good ideas, but a lot of chess pieces have been put in place. They're making plans, and The old orange man was on the phone with him today, and, you know, the other guy doesn't want peace. You know, I don't care what you think about him one way or another. He does not want peace. But he said, you know, they will have to respond for, you know, what occurred basically 72 hours ago or so. I don't believe in living in fear. I believe in being prepared. It's the exact opposite of living in fear. People don't have fire extinguishers and house insurance and car insurance and, you know, wear their seat belts and have smoke alarms because they're living in fear. I mean, some of them might to a certain degree. It's the opposite of that. I now have security cameras like all over this place. And it's not because I'm living in fear at all. It's the opposite of that. I have way more rest than I had before. Not saying that anything is foolproof. If somebody wants to get something, they're going to get it, but at least I'll be warned if I'm on the other side of town, you know, that they've gone offline or they detected motion, and I have motion, you know, in here. So it's the opposite of that. So if you have some notion, and a lot of Europeans have that idea about Americans, it's the opposite of that. I used to be a concealed carry, a CCDW instructor for the Department of Criminal Justice. People took the class where most of them are not in fear. They wanted to do the opposite of that. Being prepared is the inverse of fear. By the way, if you think the super rich are building underground structures because of, you know, magnetic polarity going upside down and front to back, or climate, I mean, no. They have a lot of insider information, and they're doing that for a reason. They know exactly what's happening. The one guy they made a movie about him called The Big Short. I forget his name. He sold all of his stocks except for one, and that was in a makeup company. I think it was Revlon. Might not have been Revlon. And every expert agrees, and I mean true experts, not people that call themselves experts, but they agree that the brown stuff is about to hit the fan. I cannot stand, I mean that literally, you can look into my eye, you know I'm telling the truth, videos that are engendering, you know, people nail biting and, you know, having any sort of fear reaction. I'm completely against that. People need to have plans, which is of course about redundancies and contingencies. I've said for years now that all redundancies are God. Not literally, but redundancy itself is God. And having contingencies, so you have to have plans, and under the plans you have to have redundancies and contingencies. If A fails, then B. If X happens, then A. If A is impossible, then I do B. And this takes less than a few hours to make those plans and contingencies. And then while you're taking a shower or whatever over the next week or two, you're like, you know, that plan needs a little bit of altering. And you can just post it up somewhere that you always see it every day, and you won't even need the plan or the contingency list anymore. It'll be burned into your head. By the way, I have a list below in PDF format that'll be below in the description on best items to have for preparation. Everybody should have a bug-out bag. A lot of people tell me, I don't have any money for all these redundancies, like a year's worth of food. And I do get that, but the least anybody can do is have a simple plan on the wall, which is totally free, and have a bug-out bag to go along with the contingencies and the plan that you do have. It's good to make friends with people who have land. People, I can't afford land. You know, that's perfectly fine. I mean, you think I have any money? I don't. I do have a lot of land, but I don't have any money. I got, what have I got in my bank account? I got like $3,400 total between checking and savings. That's true. I mean, I'm working on selling my former church, and you know, that'll be listed here soon, and then I'll get some back, and hopefully a little bit extra so I can take a vacation. I've been trying to take a vacation now for over 10 months, and I've just almost completely given up on it. Once again, on the airlines, you know, it's going to take a vacation. And then I got to the airport, and they shorted me. You know, they just canceled the flight for no reason. And the hotel wanted to keep my money because I didn't show up. It's like, well, I didn't show up because the airline. Long story. Things to have for barter. I mean, also too, let me show you what the expiration. You could say you don't like this food at all. I've actually tried every flavor, and I don't have any affiliate links for these. I could put them up there if you wanted me to, but the expiration date on this is best before June of 2051. This has been in the basement now for like 5 years or so. 20 of 51. This particular flavor is chicken and mashed potato. When you open them up, they look like the inside of your vacuum cleaner. It's just like a bunch of dust. You add hot water, you seal it up, you open it 10 minutes later, you stir it again and seal it up for another 2. They're great. 2051, I will have been planted 6 feet under, and these will still probably have another 10 plus years on them. I love these things. You could buy them in bulk for like about, it depends on the flavor, in bulk for like $9 to $8, depending on which flavor it is. My favorite is lasagna and spaghetti and meatballs. And my other favorite is breakfast skillet. And oh, my real favorite is biscuits and gravy. Really good stuff. But 30-year shelf life. I have, 5 or 6 months in the basement of these, and almost that as much up at my cabin. Think about getting those. Medicine, antibiotics. As I pointed out to you, every component of this is trade-worthy. The container, the contents, and the liquid. If you're feeling a little bit low, take some of the liquid. Not me, I don't do that. I have a lot of this liquid in the basement. Why? You don't consume it. It's a great bartering item. It itself is a form of currency. The contents are great. Like I said, these have been in here for like a year and a half. They look the same a year and a half later as the day they were peeled. It's because of the magic liquid these are floating in. That magic liquid, by the way, at Costco is $12 for 1.75 liters. Russian liquid. Actually, I think this is Finnish, but sprouting seeds. Nothing, all you need is water. You don't even need sunlight on sprouting seeds. You could have a 1-pound bag of alfalfa sprout seeds. You could have, serious poundage of food to consume. You have to wait a few days. You just work in rotation. I got hundreds of pounds of sprouting seeds in the basement. These are great. Like I said, they're airtight and watertight. These are the larger cans. M592 cans, 20 millimeter cans. They're like $50 on eBay, same on Amazon. I got these for half that price because my buddy owns the surplus store. Oh, by the way, I was going to mention, sometimes you have an inside line on things. There's a can, it's somewhere in West Virginia. It's like Switzerland something, but that's the name of the town. I forget the name of the spring water company. And they're in soda cans, and it's just water. They come from the spring. The government, of course, the government wastes a ton of money. A government entity in California, from my buddy, is ordering, why didn't they order it directly? Because that's the government, and that makes sense, and the government don't do nothing that makes sense. They're ordering tractor trailer load after tractor trailer load of this spring water that comes, I know, aluminum can, don't drink out of it, I know, I'm not the one ordering it. Basically 10 zillion cans of this emergency canned spring water from this spring in West Virginia, which has a Swiss name. Sorry I can't think of the name of it right offhand. I could look it up if you ask me later, the name of this. When you know certain people that serve as fulfillment for aspects of the government, and you have an inside ear to things, kind of like people in Washington do. They have an inside ear to things. They hear things before anybody else does. And another guy that actually sells underground bunkers, and the guy is having to hire more and more and more people. He can't keep up. Anyway, Mountain House meals, honey. Honey has multi-purposes. It's food. If it's raw honey, it's antibiotic. It actually purifies water. That takes days, though. But ferrocerium rods, most important thing to have of everything, even over that of medicine, antibiotics, are right up there with it is water filtration. I know most people don't have the money for this, and I don't either. That's why I'm selling my farm up in eastern Kentucky, and I'm selling my former church. But I still have plenty of land after that. Is make an arrangement with somebody that has land if you can't get a piece of land. One of the few things that made me happy in life, other than wisdom and insight, is having a farm. Oh, I got a commercial here. I don't know how that popped up. Sorry about that. I'll edit that out of this video. Yeah, there we go. Let me X out of that. There we go. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, computers have a mind of their own. Yeah, they're always listening to you, too. Make an arrangement with somebody that actually has land. I've never been so happy as having a farm and cabin in the deep woods. You know, it's a blessing. I enjoy it there. Kentucky is different than most states. We have way more freedoms here. Way more than even Tennessee. People think Tennessee and Kentucky are the same. They are not. They're nothing alike, by the way. I'll edit that out of this video. You know where that thing popped up on the screen there. I don't know how that happened, but it did. Have a bug-out bag. I took the advice of Navy SEALs, and people for years were saying, you're too, big and fat to run anywhere with a bug-out bag. Well, I've lost 45 pounds. And I do have a 4x4 truck. I really wasn't planning on running with it. But now that I've lost 45 pounds, I can wag my finger at all those people and say, I still need to lose another 40 pounds. I like to get somewhere like 160. Right now I'm at 198 pounds. But I can now. I used to be skinnier than any of you. I mean, I know how to lose weight. Just because I was fat didn't mean I didn't know how to lose weight. It means I'm just too busy focusing in on other things. Check out my list below in the description on emergency preparation items. Think about these things, especially water filtration and canning jars. Every aspect of this is a trading material. I want to get a lot more canning jars. I've only now got like 20 empty canning jars, and that's not enough. Canning jars are so useful for so many things. Your grandmother was right. I don't know if your grandmother canned things, but mine certainly did. Have a couple of these. These are great to bury. Put your important stuff in it, whatever that may be. Wink, wink. Bury it somewhere that you know where it is. Make sure you can find it. You just put a big, heavy-duty garbage bag around it, and stick it somewhere in the ground, and put some dirt over top. Maybe a marker rock or something like that. That could be your bug-out bag somewhere in the woods if you have a piece of land. Make sure nobody sees you doing it, because that's kind of important. But we are in the W and the W and the 3 right now. You could disagree with that all you want, but I'm 100% right about that. Things are coming. I'm not going to lie to you about when, but soon. People with a lot of money are putting their money where their mouth is, and they're all putting it in the same direction. The vectors that I've told you about just now. And it has nothing to do with fear. It has to do with the opposite of fear. Thank you so much for watching, and please check me out in the live stream. If you like these videos, or any videos that I make, any donation is always very warmly welcome, and that's in the description below. Thank you, and have a good night.